Continuing from where we left off, Lin Dong and the others emerged from the sacred spirit pool, preparing to head to the ancient battlefield and participate in the Hundred Dynasty War. Not far ahead of Jing Tian and the others was a massive stone formation, carved with intricate runes. Waves of astonishing energy continuously emanated from these runes, causing the primordial energy in the surrounding world to boil with intensity. Ling gazed quietly at the ancient stone array. The subtle rise and fall of his chest revealed that his mind was not as calm as it seemed on the surface. Liner, the ancient battlefield is likely already swarming with various forces. You must be extremely cautious once you enter. Our great Yin dynasty is not particularly powerful in the eastern Xian region. The geniuses from other powerful dynasties are exceptionally formidable. So, before you reach the Nirvana stage, try to keep a low profile. In the ancient battlefield, only those who have reached the Nirvana stage have the strength to protect themselves. Otherwise, you might just become a stepping stone for others. Jing Tian said in a low voice while waiting for the others to arrive. Understood. Ling nodded lightly in response. Additionally, try to maintain a good relationship with Lin Dong from the Lin clan. He's not an ordinary person. I've looked into him, and less than 3 years ago, he had a conflict with Lin Tian. Back then, he could barely withstand Lin Tian's pressure. But now, in just over 2 years, he has managed to subdue Lin Tian in the sacred spirit pool as you described. Jing Tian continued slowly. On the surface, his strength is only at the great completion of the creation stage, making him the weakest among the 5 of you. However, his combat prowess and various methods more than make up for this gap, possibly even surpassing it. Also, for some reason, I have a feeling that what he has shown might not even be his strongest abilities. Ling was slightly startled by this revelation, clearly surprised by Jing Tian's high regard for Lin Dong. Such people are best avoided as enemies. It's far more advantageous to make them friends, Jing Tian advised after a moment of thought. Ling nodded again. He had no intention of antagonizing Lin Dong, and although Lin Dong was from a branch family, he valued strength over lineage. After all, in the ancient battlefield, identity matters less than the ability to survive the countless brutal battles. Strength is what truly matters there. However, the deep grudge between Lin Dong and Lin Tian could be a problem. Although Lin Fan is keeping Lin Tian in check in the Great Yin Dynasty, once they enter the ancient battlefield, they might come into conflict. If that happens, Ling suddenly said, such situations were troublesome for them because no matter who they support, they risk offending the other side. Choosing not to help either side might seem neutral, but it also prevents any deep connections with either party. If it comes to a life-and-death battle between Lin Dong and Lin Tian, and Ling chooses to support Lin Dong, he would gain Lin Dong's genuine friendship but would also offend Lin Tian. Hearing Ling's words, Jing Tian frowned slightly. After a moment, he looked at Ling and slowly said, Lin Dong. Ling's heart skipped a beat. He understood that, among the geniuses of the Lin clan, Jing Tian ultimately believed Lin Dong would surpass the other. I understand, Ling replied with a slight nod. To be honest, he wasn't very surprised by Jing Tian's choice. Lin Dong's talent was no weaker than Lin Tian's. More importantly, Lin Dong had achieved his current top position in the Great Yin Dynasty without relying on any external support. He had risen from being an insignificant figure to a top contender through sheer effort. In contrast, Lin Tian had benefited from numerous resources of the Lin clan. The difference between the two was evident. After all, while resources are important, without a will as firm as a mountain, one cannot become a true powerhouse. Their people are here. Jing Tian's gaze suddenly shifted to a mountain path, and a smile appeared on his face. As Jing Tian's words fell, the sound of wind breaking was heard from the mountain path, and figures began to appear like lightning on the mountain peak. It was Lin Fan and the people from the Tianluo sect. Lin Dong stood behind Lin Fan. After they landed, his gaze was drawn to the massive stone array ahead. His eyes filled with amazement. Such a powerful array could probably not be set up even by an ordinary Nirvana stage expert. This is the teleportation array that was built when the Great Yin Dynasty was established, constructed with the help of a super sect that was paid a hefty sum. In the Eastern Qian region, countless dynasties exist, but many smaller ones lack the power and qualifications to have such a teleportation array. They have to borrow paths from other dynasties, which is quite humiliating, Lin Fan explained to Lin Dong. Lin Dong nodded. It seemed that the teleportation array was like a qualification for participating in the competition. If a dynasty didn't even have a teleportation array, it clearly had no place in the Hundred Dynasty War, and going there would only be a death sentence. Ladies and gentlemen, the ancient battlefield is a space left over from ancient times, now jointly developed by those super sects as the site for the Hundred Dynasty War. This space is hidden with countless treasures and even ancient legacies. Who gets what will depend on their own luck, but of course, with opportunity comes danger. Mo Jingtian's gaze swept over the crowd, finally pausing on Lin Dong, and he said solemnly, "You should be aware of the brutality of the Hundred Dynasty War by now. I won't repeat myself. In summary, whether for yourself or your sect, once you enter the ancient battlefield, you must temper your mindset. Here, you are the top talents of the great Yin dynasty, but there, you will be just another ordinary participant. If you behave arrogantly there, you might not even return with your bodies." Lin Dong nodded silently. He was not one to be arrogant except in the face of Lin Langtian and the Lin clan disciples who looked down on him, so he wouldn't bring that attitude into the ancient battlefield. Next, let's activate the array. As you know, activating the array requires 50,000 nirvana pills. Since there are 2 people from the Lin clan this time, you need to provide 20,000 nirvana pills, Mo Jingtian said, turning his gaze to Lin Fan and the others. 50,000 nirvana pills? Lin Dong's face twitched in disbelief as he looked at the enormous array. It was hard to imagine that such a terrifying amount was needed to activate it. Lin Fan and the others were not surprised by this rule, but Lin Dong could still see the deep discomfort on Lin Fan's face. 20,000 nirvana pills was not a small amount for the Lin clan. Sigh, Lin Dong, Lin Langtian. The future development of the Lin clan depends on your achievements in the ancient battlefield. Lin Fan sighed and then waved his hand, sending a cosmic bag towards Mo Jingtian. Beside him, the Tianluo sect and the Barbarian King sect also threw out their cosmic bags, indicating that they had already prepared the nirvana pills. Mo Jingtian reached out and took the cosmic bag, glanced inside, and nodded slightly. He then flicked his finger, and a flood of nirvana pills, radiating with mighty energy, shot out and surged into the enormous ancient stone array. As such a massive number of nirvana pills flowed in, the giant array began to tremble. The runes carved into the array erupted in brilliant light, and a beam of light slowly spread from the center of the formation. Mo Ling, Lin Dong, quickly enter the array. Mo Jingtian shouted sharply as he watched the light beam extend. Yes. The 5 responded almost simultaneously, moving swiftly without any hesitation. They transformed into 5 streaks of light, dashing into the beam of light, disappearing within it under the anxious and expectant gazes of Lin Fan and the others. Boom! As the 5 entered the beam of light, it erupted with dazzling brilliance, like a blazing sun, and only after a long while did it gradually fade away. As the beam of light diminished, the 5 figures inside had already vanished. In that space, what achievements you make will depend on your own abilities. Mo Jingtian, Lin Fan, and the others looked at the empty stone array and murmured. The ancient battlefield, a space left over from ancient times, which, according to legend, witnessed a breathtakingly fierce battle over countless ages. The forces involved in that battle were equivalent to or even surpassed the super sects of the Eastern Qian region today. That battle was so catastrophic it shattered the earth and ripped apart space itself. The current ancient battlefield is many times smaller than it was at its peak, a consequence of that cataclysmic conflict. Of course, even though it has shrunk significantly, the vastness of the ancient battlefield still far exceeds the great Yin dynasty by countless times. Compared to the ancient tablet space Lin Dong had previously entered, this place felt like a vast expanse in comparison. The ancient battlefield is filled with countless treasures, with many ancient powerful figures having left their legacies in this space, quietly waiting for those destined to uncover them. Since the site of the Hundred Dynasty War was set in this ancient battlefield, every time. Someone lucky enough to find these legacies would soar to great heights, emerging victorious in the brutal and intense Hundred Dynasty War and gaining fame throughout the eastern Xian region. Of course, compared to these ultimate winners, many talented individuals from various dynasties have become mere ghosts in this ancient battlefield, sacrificing their lives to create glory for others. Here lies a region of stone peaks with towering, barren rock formations standing under the blazing sun, radiating intense, scorching heat. On top of a stone peak, a space suddenly distorted, and then a beam of light tore through the space and shot out, finally landing on the peak of the stone. After a moment, the beam of light slowly dissipated, and 5 figures emerged from within. As Lin Dong's feet touched the ground, his somewhat dazed mind instantly cleared, and the primordial energy within his body began to circulate, quickly dispelling the weakness caused by the teleportation. His gaze lifted, and a strange new environment appeared before his eyes. So this is the ancient battlefield? Lin Dong looked at the vast area of jagged stone peaks around him. Among the numerous peaks, the ground was overgrown with weeds, and a desolate and ancient aura continuously seeped from the earth. Such rich primordial energy. Lin Dong was momentarily distracted by the unfamiliar surroundings, but then he was struck by the astonishing richness of the primordial energy in this space. He took a deep breath, immediately feeling a torrent of energy surge into his body through his nostrils. After refinement, it spread like a hot current, filling him with a sense of powerful energy. His eyes revealed a hint of astonishment. Compared to the primordial energy in the Great Yin Dynasty, this was on an entirely different level. Cultivating here would definitely be at least twice as fast, if not more. This primordial energy also contains quite a bit of mysterious energy. Lin Dong twirled his hand, gathering a mass of energy in his palm. In that energy, he noticed a faint reddish hue. The faint reddish energy, though small, had a heat like the sun. Even this tiny trace made Lin Dong's palm feel warm, and a familiar sensation entered his heart. This is Nirvana Aura. Sensing the familiar essence, Lin Dong's pupils suddenly constricted, and an uncontrollable fervor and excitement filled his gaze. This was the Nirvana aura that only those in the Nirvana stage could draw from the heavens and earth. He didn't expect that even with his current creation stage minor success, he could grasp it here in the ancient battlefield. The name Ancient Battlefield truly lived up to its reputation. No wonder countless dynasties were eager to come here. Haha, Lin Dong, this ancient battlefield is indeed many times better than the Great Yin Dynasty. With your devouring ancestral talisman, no one can match your ability to absorb and refine. Given enough time, you'll easily gather enough Nirvana pills to reach the Nirvana stage. The excited voice of Little Mink rang in Lin Dong's mind, clearly sensing the peculiarities of the ancient battlefield. Lin Dong nodded. He focused on the energy in his palm. Although the primordial energy here contained Nirvana aura, extracting it was not straightforward. This energy was difficult to control for those who hadn't reached the Nirvana stage. However, with his devouring ancestral talisman, Lin Dong could absorb the primordial energy freely, making the extraction process much more efficient. This would allow him to quickly establish his footing in the ancient battlefield. While Lin Dong was excited and amazed by the uniqueness of the ancient battlefield, Missouri Ling and the other 4 also had expressions of surprise and excitement, clearly aware of the Nirvana aura contained in the primordial energy. Everyone, this should be the ancient battlefield. According to the maps I have, if we head north from here, we should reach a gathering point, Mo Ling said after a moment of excitement and recovery, turning his gaze to Lin Dong and the others. As you all know, the nights in the ancient battlefield are filled with danger. Generally, very few people traverse the battlefield at night. Lin Dong nodded slightly. He had heard from Lin Fan that the nights in the ancient battlefield were different from those in the Great Yin Dynasty. Perhaps because the primordial energy here contains various mysterious elements. At night, the originally abundant primordial energy is suppressed by other strange energies. This suppression also affects humans cultivating primordial energy. In other words, during the night in the ancient battlefield, their strength would be significantly reduced, while the beasts here become exceptionally violent and powerful. Even those at the peak of the creation stage dare not travel alone at night, as encountering a pack of beasts could easily result in becoming their prey. And it is precisely because of this that there are several gathering points in the ancient battlefield, where various forces come together to resist the arrival of the night. We are now in the ancient battlefield. The Hundred Dynasty War has already begun, and this path only allows entry, not exit. We have no way to turn back. So, we might need to stay in this space for a long time. The brutality of the Hundred Dynasty War is well known, and no one can guarantee that we will successfully gather enough Nirvana pills and reach the Nirvana stage. At this time, if we can stay united, I believe our chances of survival will increase significantly. Mo Ling's expression was serious. He quickly adapted to his current situation, understanding that this was no longer the great Yin dynasty, and he was no longer the esteemed third prince. Now, he was merely an ordinary participant in the Hundred Dynasty War. I have no objections. Du Yun shrugged. Given how unfamiliar this place was, venturing out alone without understanding the situation could lead to dire consequences, even death. I agree. Man Shan nodded in agreement. Lin Dong's expression was thoughtful. He glanced at Lin Langtian. Their enmity was so deep that it was beyond reconciliation. It was clear that Lin Langtian might be plotting to kill him even now. Of course, Lin Dong also harbored similar thoughts. Since entering the ancient battlefield, he had lost all inhibitions. Here, no one could interfere in his conflict with Lin Langtian. In fact, he had briefly considered taking immediate action to eliminate Lin Langtian, but he forced himself to suppress that thought. Currently, no one would stop him from attacking Lin Langtian, but this area was extremely unfamiliar and filled with dangers. Even if Lin Dong could kill Lin Langtian now, it would likely come at a cost. In such a strange and dangerous place, putting himself in a bad situation would be equivalent to courting death. Thus, after calming his murderous intent, Lin Dong decided to focus on familiarizing himself with the ancient battlefield to find a foolproof opportunity. The third prince makes a valid point. Lin Dong's eyes flickered slightly as he nodded in agreement. Seeing this, Mo Ling let out a slight sigh of relief. They were scattered individuals now, and there was no telling where they might encounter powerful opponents from other dynasties who could kill them instantly. Thus, sticking together was crucial, especially when heading to the gathering points. At this moment, Lin Langtian nodded expressionlessly. No one knew what he was thinking. Brother Lin Dong, there's no need to address me as third prince anymore. If you don't mind, just call me by my name, Mo Ling said with a smile. Since Brother Mo Ling has said so, Lin Dong will gladly comply. Lin Dong smiled in return. Haha, Brother Lin Dong, in the days to come, we might become partners. Du Yun and Man Shan also smiled and said. For some unknown reason, these two individuals seemed to be drawn towards Lin Dong just like Mo Ling. This caused Lin Langtian's expression to darken slightly. It appeared that Lin Dong's miserable defeat at the sacred spirit pool had paradoxically elevated his status in Mo Ling and the others' eyes. Everyone, let's move out. We need to reach the gathering point before nightfall. Otherwise, it will be too dangerous outside. This ancient battlefield is not like the great Yin dynasty. In the dark, humans can only hide from the beasts. Mo Ling said with a smile. All right. Lin Dong and the others nodded in agreement. As newcomers, it was crucial to get a grasp of the situation. Let's go. Seeing this, Mo Ling did not delay. He waved his hand and led the way north. Being a royal, Mo Ling had more information than Lin Dong and his group, and no one objected to his leadership. Thus, Lin Dong and the others immediately set off, swiftly following Mo Ling. The five figures, like fleeting shadows, raced northward with the speed of lightning. Let me see just how spectacular the Hundred Dynasty War is. As they raced forward, Lin Dong looked up at the distant horizon, his fists slowly clenching as a fiery determination appeared in his eyes. On the vast, endless wilderness plains, five figures streaked by like lightning. The deep, cutting wind noises spread from around these figures and echoed far away. These five figures were, of course, Lin Dong and his group who had just arrived at the ancient battlefield. Their goal was to reach the nearest gathering point. Since they were newcomers, everything in this space was extremely unfamiliar to them. Furthermore, The night in the ancient battlefield was particularly dangerous. Therefore, they needed to reach the gathering point before dark. Otherwise, once night fell, the realm would be dominated by demon beasts and other strange creatures, making it extremely perilous. During their fast journey to the gathering point, Lin Dong and his team encountered some people from other dynasties. However, as soon as they met, the people from the other dynasties retreated like startled birds. Their wary demeanor forced Lin Dong and his group to abandon any thoughts of confrontation and focus all their attention on speeding up. After traveling at full speed for about half an hour, the silhouette of a city finally appeared on the endless plain ahead. Seeing the ancient-looking city, Lin Dong and his group breathed a sigh of relief. They knew this must be the so-called gathering point. Although competition was brutal in the ancient battlefield, sometimes it was necessary to band together. Otherwise, surviving the night alone would be extremely difficult. Once we enter the gathering point, be cautious. Although we've emphasized keeping a low profile, everyone should be aware that this is a world where the strong prey on the weak. Sometimes, being too low profile can lead to more trouble. Mo Ling's voice reached Lin Dong and his group's ears as he slightly slowed down upon seeing the ancient city. Upon hearing this, Lin Dong nodded slightly. He wasn't one to seek trouble, but if something truly provoked him, he would not show any mercy. With his trump cards, even a strong expert at the Nirvana stage would have difficulty making him retreat. Despite the ancient battlefield being filled with prodigies and powerful figures, he felt no fear. As Lin Dong and his group were discussing, they emerged outside the ancient city. From the outside, the city wasn't as luxurious as the imperial cities, but its simple, unadorned appearance exuded a sense of ancient strength and solidity. The fact that it had stood for so many years was a testament to its stability. At this moment, in front of the seemingly black iron city gate, numerous groups of people were arriving from all directions. These individuals had powerful and imposing auras, clearly participants from other dynasties. What astonished Lin Dong and his group the most was that the city gate was blocked by a dozen figures. Behind them, a flag was planted, displaying a dazzling golden sun. What's going on? Lin Dong slowed his pace, frowning slightly. This gathering point has actually been taken over. Which dynasty is so powerful to control it? Mo Ling's face changed upon seeing this, and he exclaimed in surprise. Upon hearing this, Lin Dong and his group's expressions also grew serious. For a gathering point like this, where geniuses from various dynasties mixed, controlling such a city was no small feat. They wondered which dynasty had such dominance. Everyone, this gathering point is now occupied by the Holy Light Dynasty. If you wish to enter, each person must pay 10 Nirvana pills. A booming voice came from the city gate. The powerful wave of primordial energy in the voice caused many to change their expressions. Humph, this city is supposed to be a public gathering point. To charge for entry with Nirvana pills is outrageous. Just as Lin Dong thought, the people arriving here were top geniuses from their respective dynasties. Such a brazen act was met with disdain, and someone immediately sneered in response. The burly man at the gate, with dark skin and a blood-red earring, showed a fierce expression upon hearing this. With a wave of his hand, 3 objects were thrown down from the city wall, landing heavily on the ground. To everyone's shock, they were 3 bloody corpses. These 3 were from a dynasty called the Great Yin Dynasty. They didn't accept our control over this city, so we dealt with them. If any of you are dissatisfied, you can choose not to enter the city or resist like them. We don't mind taking action, the dark-skinned man said coldly, his words filled with a chilling murderous intent. Seeing this, many people's expressions changed. From the residual primordial energy on the bodies, they could tell that these 3 had been at the great completion of the creation stage. Even so, they had been reduced to cold corpses. This bloody display made many realize that they were no longer in their own dynasty. Lin Dong narrowed his eyes as he observed the scene. This was his first encounter with the rules of the ancient battlefield. The strongest ruled. Everyone, the Holy Light Dynasty has no intention of making things difficult for you. We only charge a symbolic fee of 10 Nirvana pills. As long as you cultivate well within the city, you will quickly be able to refine 10 Nirvana pills. However, Anyone who tries to challenge the authority of the Holy Light Dynasty will face the same fate as these people. Just as the scene at the city gate grew tense, a thunderous voice, filled with rolling primordial energy, echoed from within the city. Moreover, as the voice resonated, an overwhelming force of primordial energy spread, causing many to look horrified. Peak of the creation stage? Lin Dong's gaze tightened as he looked deeper into the city. He hadn't expected that the Holy Light Dynasty would have experts at the peak of the creation stage. This level of strength surpassed even Mo Ling and Lin Langtian. No wonder the Holy Light Dynasty dared to control the city. They indeed had the capability. At the city gate, after a brief silence, some people, managing to suppress their anger, paid the required nirvana pills and entered the city. As nightfall approached, finding a place to settle became increasingly urgent. Lin Dong and his group followed the crowd. They exchanged glances but did not make any hasty moves. Their priority was to enter the city and assess the situation. After agreeing, Mo Ling took the initiative to pay the required nirvana pills to the Holy Light Dynasty's representatives, and the group successfully entered the city. Inside the city, most buildings were made of massive stones. Though plain, they were solid and sturdy. In the center of the city stood 8 stone towers, which were the most eye-catching features. What surprised Lin Dong the most was the formidable aura emanating from these towers. Each aura was not weaker than Mo Ling or Lin Langtian's, and the most powerful aura was from the central tower, clearly belonging to the peak of the creation stage expert who had spoken earlier. At this point, the city was already bustling with people. It seemed the Holy Light Dynasty had also enlisted people from other dynasties to help manage the city. Lin Dong's group didn't dwell on this too much. They walked around the city and found a large stone house not far from the city wall. Although it was somewhat rudimentary, it was more than adequate to accommodate the 5 of them. Once inside the stone house, they settled down, relieved to have found a place to stay before nightfall. Everyone, we've officially settled in this ancient battlefield. We might stay here for some time to get familiar with the environment, Mo Ling said, clapping his hands and smiling at Lin Dong and the others. However, we are currently on the outskirts of the ancient battlefield. According to the rules of the 100 Dynasty War, we have a year to prepare. After this year, everyone must move deeper into the battlefield. So, our achievements during this year will determine how far we can go in the 100 Dynasty War. Lin Dong and the others nodded in agreement. They were still very unfamiliar with the ancient battlefield. Once they became more accustomed, they could go out to cultivate and seek opportunities. After a day of travel, the group briefly discussed their plans. Then each found a room and eagerly began their cultivation, absorbing the unique energies of the ancient battlefield. Lin Dong entered a room, closed the door, and sat cross-legged on the stone bed, but he didn't start cultivating immediately. Instead, he looked contemplative. Compared to the geniuses from the major dynasties, they were still quite behind. Lin Dong knew that if they faced those individuals now, very few would survive. However, they had a year to prepare. Although the ancient battlefield was full of dangers, it also held countless treasures and opportunities. If they could seize them, surpassing the geniuses from the major dynasties was not impossible. Huff! Lin Dong let out a long breath. For now, he needed to gradually familiarize himself with the ancient battlefield before he could truly hone his skills. The Holy Light Dynasty is indeed formidable, taking control of a city right upon arrival. Lin Dong's gaze through the window was fixed on the central stone towers. The best positions in the city were occupied by the Holy Light Dynasty. He had no particular grievances as long as they did not provoke him. He was content to quietly use this time to get to know the space. Of course, if the Holy Light Dynasty's people did try to step on his toes, he wouldn't mind showing them what it felt like to hit a steel plate.